So, is there some particular paradigm that is corollary to the paradigm regarding the Hispanic, that people that come from south of the U.S. Mexico border, specifically those that have surnames that are Spanish, as in from Spain, and are in a lineage that can be, at least through the nomenclature, identified with a specific Spanish heritage, have been specifically targeted in somebody's epidemiological model, and that E-Verify was part of that. And I've known this. This is something I've been dealing with personally for many years. That there were specific implications in what was going on with E-Verify and what was going on in the 2007-2008 timeframe, where there was an intentional effort to liquidate what was at that time a movement for immigrant rights, and that the mixing up of execution of writs or warrants to take people into detention for certain crimes that somebody else with the same name had committed was actually intentional. But at the time, we didn't know why. Now it makes sense, right? Gene editing, right? The whole thing with the nematodes nobody wants to talk about, all those things that make sense, right? But is there something comparable that happened with that little Harvard shit I found last year? And I'm saying it this way: Harvard University had some alleged educational paradigm and one could access. I have it in my evidence. It was one of the most horrible things I ever saw. I saw it 2 years ago, 2019. And they had a section on there that was supposed to be discussing the history of immigration, specifically Russian immigration. And almost every one of the modules it had that was part of their curriculum discussed it from an exclusively Jewish immigration perspective, of immigration of people who were Jewish from the former Soviet Union. And while it discussed matters related to anti Semitism and other factors in it, it had a completely ridiculous mischaracterization, even of what anybody I've ever known understood was the history of Jewish immigration, specifically from the Soviet Union to the United States. You know, it was a total mischaracterization and misrepresentation. And I was evaluating it in this concept of this tendency to identify the Russian oligarchs as Russian oligarchs, and then disproportionately focus on those or individuals from the former Soviet Union that had a Jewish heritage, as a distinct understanding of the Russian Jew from the history of immigration from the former Soviet Union to the United States and what it meant for the United States. We're not just talking about Russians that are infiltrating the United States, unless you're going to be honest about the history of anti Semitism as it relates to other matters. So, did somebody come up with some bullshit epidemiological model where they got to test the good Jew genes and then try to gene edit and genetically engineer them, especially with things like with what they were accusing Harvey Weinstein of and with the Epstein? And meanwhile, where's Anthony Bourdain, for example, right? And so now we're in this situation where what? Because my understanding is that for over a year, what was supposed to happen is the Jews were supposed to seed. The Jews were supposed to convert, and then they were supposed to give the pedigree to African America. And that somebody really thought that it was appropriate to say that the Jewish community's commitment to racial justice meant they had to literally give their genetic inheritance, their heritage, to black people. As what? Because this is the ironic thing. The actual history of political struggle for social justice concerning Jews and African Americans was about 100% self-interest. Self-interest means you don't say, well, we've already identified you are an appropriate product line to be recirculated within our community in order for us to be able to live at a different standard. Because that's exactly what this sounds like. And it's exactly the mentalities that are doing this. And in a void of any actual political education, and without letting us actually meet with each other to speak in person and to be human with each other, then it sounds more viable? Because it's not. So are you doing that thing here where while I'm dealing with your Hispanola shit, where I gotta wait and watch all of the Hispanic people be totally subordinate and submissive to some big, strong showing of African-American manhood without actually being able to have a relationship with anybody? That somewhere, people I used to know that actually had a cultural experience of being Jewish one way or another are just supposed to allow themselves. Well, see, the problem. There's not enough African Americans, guys. There's not enough black people to justify all of the other misrepresentation and mischaracterization. And ultimately, you know what this is, right? They're just going to use the black people as a conduit. And then they're going to kill the black people. And then all of that shit's going to go where? I mean, be honest. That's what this is. You're not gonna get it. One way or another, you're not gonna get it. If it just ends up fucking spilled out in the goddamn fucking ground so it can be absorbed by the fucking earth to pay the debt we actually fucking owed, then that's what's gonna fucking happen. Get it through your fucking head. You don't got much fucking time anyway.